Senator from Utah.
Mr. President, I rise today to talk about the richest man in the world, the new king of the hill. No, you won't find this financial titan in Forbes magazine's list of the world's billionaires. He hasn't started a mega computer software company like Bill Gates, nor has he made shrewd investments like Warren Buffett or even inherited his money like the Walton family of Walmart fame. No, the billions amassed over the years by these business magnates are chump change compared to that collected by our current champ, who has ascended to the title of the world's wealthiest man by collecting trillions of dollars in a mere 155 days. He now owns 2 auto manufacturing companies, oil sands and offshore drilling leases, interest in several hundred banks, and enough real estate holdings to make Donald Trump envious. In fact, managing this vast portfolio has become too time-consuming and too much for him to handle. He recently said, quote, "I don't want to run auto companies. I don't want to run banks. I've got 2 wars I've got to run already. I've got more than enough to do, so the sooner we can get out of that business, the better off we're going to be," unquote. I doubt even John D. Rockefeller, Cornelius Vanderbilt, or Andrew Carnegie, or William Randolph Hearst could ever have dreamed about having that amount of control. But despite his professed eagerness to divest himself of his newfound unprecedented wealth, the reigning world's richest man, President Obama, seems reluctant to relinquish his vast holdings. Indeed, I'm beginning to think he actually enjoys this, well, what I call Obamanopoly. Soon he will own all the railroads, all the utilities, Park Place and Boardwalk, and when taxpayers pick up the yellow or orange cards from the stacks, they will have to dig deeper in their wallet to find this high-stakes Obamanopoly. Okay, I realize that our president does not really personally own all this wealth. And while I'm speaking tongue-in-cheek, my remarks do point to the very real serious consequences of an ever-expanding United States government. We are moving to, and I might add that I care a great deal for the president and I don't want to personally offend him, but I think the point's made. We're moving toward what I have referred to as the Europeanization of America. On the spectrum between anarchy and a centralized government invested with complete power and control, our current government is so far removed from the limited government that our founding fathers intended that they must be rolling over in their graves. There is method to this unprecedented meddling in the private sector. As the government acquires more auto manufacturers, banks, insurance companies, and other private sector businesses, we all become more dependent upon government. The Obama administration's answer to everything is to take control of companies, increase regulation, and spend, spend, spend. I might add, they're now talking about taxing, and taxing more. Not only does the government have more control over the economy, but it has a freer rein to regulate and restrict free speech. Modern political thought is in many respects based on a distinction between the public and private spheres. Liberal democracies, using the word, quote, liberal, unquote, in the classical sense, have historically been based on the notion that there are realms that are ripe for government involvement, the public sphere, and others that should remain unaffected by government, the private sphere. This was one of the central ideas behind the drafting of our beloved Constitution and the founding of our nation. Indeed, the Founding Fathers were all too aware of the problems that could arise under a government that is too expansive and too powerful. As James Madison, one of the main architects of our Constitution, argued, all men have power, having power ought to be distrusted to a certain degree. Let me say that again. All men having power ought to be distrusted to a certain degree. Because of this inherent distrust of those holding power, our nation's founders devised a government that was allowed to exercise its enumerated powers. As Alexander Hamilton said, there are more instances of the abridgment of freedom of the people by gradual and silent encroachments by those in power than by violent and sudden usurpations. That's one of the great founding fathers, Alexander Hamilton. Well, when it comes to framing a desiring government, you must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place, oblige it to control itself. That's what Hamilton additionally said, "Indeed, the genius of our Constitution is that it provides an effective government that is subject to strict limitations." But it isn't only the Constitution that we can observe, or in the Constitution that we can observe the relevance of this public-private distinction during the Founding Fathers' generation. The beliefs, practices, and culture of that era further demonstrate just how separate and distinct our nation has traditionally viewed the public and the private spheres. French political philosopher Alexis de Tocqueville, in observing the uniqueness of American government and culture, described how private citizens in America address needs in their communities. Now, he stated, quote, "When a private individual mediates an undertaking, however directly connected it may be with the welfare of society, he never thinks of soliciting the cooperation of the government, but he publishes his plan, offers to execute it himself, courts the assistance of other individuals, and struggles manfully against all obstacles. Undoubtedly, he is often less successful than the state might have been in his position, but in the end, the sum of these private undertakings far exceeds all that the government could have done," unquote. I believe this spirit of private determination still exists in our beloved country. I've argued many times that the American people are the most inventive and innovative people in the world. However, in an era when the president can impact huge portions of the American economy, that spirit is given little opportunity to work its magic in the private sector. Indeed, James Madison argued that, quote, "There are more instances of the abridgment of freedom of the people by gradual and silent encroachments by those in power than by violent and sudden usurpations." I wonder how Madison would have viewed some of our current president's recent decisions. Mr. President, ours is a government that from the very beginning has been limited in what it can do and how far it may encroach into the private sphere. Those limits are not defined by the nation's economic circumstances or political winds. There is not an exception in the Constitution that allows popular presidents to exercise more power than unpopular ones. Ours is the oldest functioning constitutional republic on the planet, not because of change, hope, or adaptation, but because of consistency and respect for the limitations imposed upon our institutions. I believe many of the times we have struggled have been those in which we have strayed from the principal obligation that our Constitution imposes on the federal government, the obligation to control itself. One such example, one often cited by the administration and my Democratic colleagues to justify the steps the president has taken, is the Great Depression. Some may say the Great Depression was the last time we saw such an expansion of government power. It came in the form of FDR's New Deal. As you can see, the former Time magazine. It came in the form of FDR's New Deal, which is now the model for how the majority and the president intend to make the federal government and our economy. They credit the New Deal with ending the Depression and claim that this new expansion will cure our current economic ills. I hope for our country's sake that they're wrong. What New Deal proponents don't mention when making their case is that even with Roosevelt's policies in place, the Depression lasted for over a decade and, in fact, deepened in the late 1930s.